Masculinity in today's society. What does it mean to be a masculine man? It's a question that I find a lot on YouTube. A lot of YouTube gurus, red pill individuals, there's a lot of guys and a lot of women as well making content on what it means to be a masculine man. What is masculinity? Is all masculinity toxic? Should men embrace their more feminine side? Should men strive to be more masculine in a society where they're completely trying to eradicate masculinity within itself? I mean, we see what's going on in the world. Some people are against it, some people are with it, and a lot of people are battling and struggling to find what it means to be a masculine man. With all the definitions out there, and all these things, all these people trying to tell you what it is, and the commonality is the man. So as a man, what does it mean to be masculine, and where did most men first encounter the the thought of masculinity and what it is? Well, I would say a lot of men who are men today, and even boys who are boys today, first encountered masculinity through wrestling. Wrestling's been around since the 1800s. The term work comes from the 1800s, where it was first documented that guys were scripting and doing choreography of entertaining matches for the crowds, and they were choreographed, and the outcome was decided. So wrestling's been around for a long time. Even back then, they first began to encounter the concept of bodybuilding, weightlifting, to build muscle and to get strong and to look a certain way, and to certain elegance in how your body is sculpted, like the Greek gods they read about in older times. So to pair wrestling and masculinity, well, that's peanut butter and jelly. I mean, it goes hand in hand. I mean, as a 29-year-old man myself, I would say my first thought of masculinity and what it means to be not just a man but the man, to have everyone think of you as the pinnacle of what a man is when I saw a guy like John Cena, Batista, Bobby Lashley, Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, during the Ruthless Aggression era. That's when I started to, really look at, I want to be a larger than life, character. I want to have the muscles. I want people to look up to me, get that adulation. That is what it takes to be a man, to be the champion. With that being said, let's get into the video. So, Vince McMahon Jr., not senior, he sold his company to his son. His son bought him out. He bought out all the territory surrounding him in order to eliminate the competition and take their best talent. Power, greed, success, pillars that would ultimately shape and form WWE moving forward through Vince McMahon's aspirations. If you want to talk about masculinity in wrestling, you cannot talk about that without talking about Vince McMahon. He's done what he's done. As of recently, we know the type of man he was, but it's been in front of us throughout all those years. And for a lot of young men who are older today, and even the young boys coming up learning about who Vince McMahon was, that was mostly everyone's first introduction, besides if you have your father in the house, uncles and stuff like that, of what it means to be masculine. Now, whether it's right or wrong is up to your interpretation. I'm telling you, my thoughts. So, seeing a man who wanted to look as good as his wrestlers, he's taking steroids, he's feeding the wrestlers steroids. Vince McMahon taught us that masculinity was being the biggest, the strongest, having all the women, having all the money, and having everyone bow down to you. I mean, this man had a Kiss My Ass club where he made grown men, he scripted grown men to literally kiss his ass in front of millions of viewers. And this was happening like on a weekly to monthly basis, where if he just don't like, he's like, you know what, Jim Ross is gonna kiss my ass, William Regal's gonna kiss my ass, everybody's gonna kiss my ass. That was our introduction to masculinity, and obviously it's a metaphor, obviously, but he's literally doing it on TV, but it's a metaphor for something bigger, such as you should want to strive to have this power that I have, where I'm making people literally kiss my ass to get ahead in life, and to apologize for doing something that I did not agree with. I mean, think about this, man. Greed. Obviously, when you're younger, you didn't really know that Vince McMahon. When I was younger, I didn't know he bought out every other company. I just always thought that WWE was the only wrestling organization ever until I got introduced to TNA and things like that. But as you get older and you look at the psychology of what he was doing, he was asserting his masculinity. Let's be frank. You know, Vince McMahon was under obviously his father, and you know he's learning the game, learning the way things were. But he wanted to be the man. He wanted to be the guy, and he wanted to be ahead of everything, so much so that he bought the damn company from his own dad. Basically forced him to sell, essentially. That's the type of man that Vince McMahon was. And this video isn't about Vince McMahon. It's about masculinity and wrestling. But you have to talk about it, because look at most of the decisions that were made in wrestling, obviously WWE, were through Vince McMahon. You know, people created other companies to combat him because he was so powerful, and he just really eradicated everything around him. I mean, look at this, right? The sexualization of women in wrestling was created from the mind of a man that thought he was the most masculine, most macho man in the world, not just because he had money, because he had steroids to become big and strong, because he had influence over others around him, and because he took out the competition. A man who was so full of himself. His old ass made these young 20-something women who just wanted to come up in the business and make some money kiss him on television, bark like dogs, do bra and panty matches, do bikini contests, pose for Playboy. Even if they didn't want to, they had to pose for Playboy because he said so. So think about that as a young impressionable boy, and you see all these young beautiful looking women kissing on this old man and doing things that are out of the ordinary. Do you not think that will have an impact on boys who are men in today's society? Luckily, some of us had teachers to teach us otherwise, and once we learned that, you know, none of this stuff was real, that's one thing. But think about before you knew about kayfabe. Think about that. Think about, man, Vince McMahon, he has all the money. He has all the power. He's not even a handsome guy. And then just look at the wrestlers that he booked that were those guys, like a Triple H getting with Stephanie McMahon, with China. Think about Carlito getting with Trish Stratus and Tori Wilson. Think about Randy Orton and Evolution having all the girls at their party and riding in the limo with them, and Stacy Keibler getting kissed on and things of that nature. Think about Lita and Edge. Edge is my favorite wrestler. When I saw Edge, he was a rated R superstar talking about sex and violence. I wanted to aspire to be that, because that's what I thought a man was. I'm like, wow, he got the hot girl on his arm. He's kicking people's ass. He's the ultimate opportunist, you know, being a sneaky and conniving man to get to the top, which he did get to the top with that championship. You know, that is what I thought at the time, you know, being a man was. Do whatever it takes, take advantage of the opportunity, and wait in the shadows until you can just, you know, take what's yours. Now, obviously, I'm young and impressionable, and I took wrestling extremely literal. I didn't really know about, you know, kayfabe and all that until I was probably about in the 8th, 9th grade, and I was like, oh yeah, this stuff is scripted. These guys are athletes, they're talented, and they're acting, essentially. But I mean, before that, man, I'm taking that as law. Perseverance, strength, guidance, courage. Rey Mysterio being shorter than myself. Rey Mysterio, you know, going through the ringer, winning the Royal Rumble. We going against guys like Great Khali, going against insurmountable odds and overcoming the odds to become a champion. You know, those were the positives. John Cena, you can say what you want about John Cena, but I will say John Cena for me was the peak of real masculinity, where I really learned, like, oh, I believe this is what it takes to be a man. Hustle, loyalty, respect. Never give up, never keep fighting. Even if it's 1v3, you got to keep going. You can overcome those odds. So I will give Vince McMahon that in that one aspect, but then it becomes a little bit more sinister as you get older, as to where Vince McMahon didn't really believe in that. He just did that because he knew John Cena was going to make a lot of money, just like he thought Hulk Hogan was going to make a lot of money. He helped Hulk Hogan get even more juiced up so he can put him out there as this big action hero to make money, whereas a guy like Daniel Bryan, you know, had to really fight to get his own opportunity to be champion, and he was the one with the real talent. You see, masculinity, emasculating a guy like Chad Gable, who's a super duper talented wrestler, but calling him Shorty G, and the guy's not even that damn short. emasculating a guy like Santino Morella, who worked hard to get to where he is, and making him dress up as a woman, and then tearing down the women by having him win Miss WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? Just things like that. That as a young guy, young man, young boy, whatever, coming up, even as an older man, there are older men who are still searching to find what it means for them to be a masculine man, because in their lives, in their daily lives, they don't feel masculine. They feel emasculated by their supervisor, by their wives, by their family. And that's the same in the WWE. I just made a video about R-Truth and how he was the man, in TNA. He was the NWA champion, and look what he has to go through just to feed his family. He has money, but he had to stay in that position. He could have left. He's like, I'm tired of being a joke. I'm never going to be champion. But when you're a man, you have to do what you have to do to get what you want, which is why a lot of these guys accept the role of clowns and buffoonery, New Day, etc., and then they know that they'll never be at the top, because that's not where they're meant to be, based off of the one who's really in charge, or was in charge back in the day, which is Vince McMahon. It might be different under the Triple H regime, which I think it will be, based off of displays of emotion. Cody Rhodes, hell, I gotta give it to Roman Reigns, Jey Uso. Those matches with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, where they're really showing real emotion, whether it was acting, whether it was them actually letting themselves pour out, was some of the best wrestling I've ever seen. Seeing Cody Rhodes finally win that WWE Championship at WrestleMania, and looking up to the sky, and he did it for his dad, and him being allowed to cry, being allowed to be vulnerable as a man, was really like peak real masculinity in WWE. It's not just about the muscles. It's not about the steroids. It's not about having all the women. Even the championship belt represents a pursuit of the ultimate success. We want people to be champion because it shows that they're tough, that they're the best, that they're the best worker. Even that within itself is the representation of everything that comes with proving yourself as a man. The championship belt could represent money, represent lust, could represent greed, could represent success, could represent power, could represent respect. So wrestling within itself is theater, and is an art form, and it's beautiful at times, and obviously it blurs the lines of reality. You see a guy like Undertaker, Bray Wyatt have done, rest in peace Bray Wyatt, done things that aren't real. But when you put it down to your level and you really think about what wrestling has shown you, with the women, with the money, with the belts, with giving emotional promos and things like that, and how the crowd responds to you. The men wrestlers are the men. The crowd is society. Is my masculinity going to have the crowd side with me, or are they going to go against me? If I'm a Gold Dust or Velveteen Dream, or I have to wear a dress and do these things, how does the crowd react to me having feminine traits and feminine qualities? Do they still side with me, or do they turn me away? And do I have to change? When I have a character that's given to me by creative, and I don't feel as though it makes me look manly enough, can I go to creative? And please, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be shunned out. Cody Rhodes left because Stardust it was not only a joke, and it wasn't working. It was basically the emasculation of Cody Rhodes. Viscera, before he was Big Daddy V, he was a man in pajamas humping women. The whole trains, all these things, right? That it's just so much a man can take. And with wrestling, as our introduction to masculinity and seeing the emasculation of certain men, it was just an up and down roller coaster of emotions as a young guy, seeing your favorite wrestler be embarrassed, being torn to shreds, but then having the perseverance and finally one day getting that championship that they so much deserved. I mean, it's a roller coaster of emotions for all of us, I'm sure. And I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to convey to you guys. As I always say, the Attitude Era, where masculinity taught, wear the leather jackets, have the sexy women, curse and do all this. The PG era was about greed. Every booking decision was about money, advertisement. And then the ruthless aggression era, the best era, was all about perseverance. Rey Mysterio, Royal Rumble, about becoming the greatest and keep working hard. Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, John Cena, Batista, fighting back against the oppression and becoming the best you could possibly be. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for the love and support. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.